Yes, my brothers and my sisters, Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, thank you again for tuning in. We thank you for your subscriptions and your likes, and thank you so much for your comments and your prayers. And as I said, my brothers and my sisters, as your Moray, I just want to let you know that it is my intention, it is my prayer that as we go through these segments, these sessions in Judaism, that you will learn something. And if you do not believe me, then you need to go follow, look, do some research. And you'll say, I may not say it in the same word that they say it, but you're going to see, my brothers and sisters, that what I'm telling you what thus saith Yahuwah, what he wants us to do. Okay? How to live for him. As I said that, the Israelite religion, became distinct from the Canaanite polytheism. And, because we were called to worship one Yahuwah, one Elohim. And we see that over a period of time, this later, what do we call it, monolatristic, belief cemented into a strict monotheistic belief and worship of Yahuwah alone, over the years, over the time. And with the rejection of, the existence of all other gods, whether they were, Canaanite or foreign. So when they were brought into the land, Yahuwah, it took them out of Egypt. They did not know a whole lot. In Egypt, they did not know a whole lot, because every time, if you remember the story, how Moses was fighting with the pharaohs, they said, hey, look, let the people go so that they can go and worship Yahuwah. Let them go. We want to go take them out so they can worship, because in Egypt it was not easy for them to worship Yahuwah, because they were forced to worship the Egyptian deities. Okay? And so now they during the Babylonian captivity, which was about the 6th and 5th centuries BCE, and that was still considered the Iron Age too. Certain circles within the exile Judites, that they were to refer to the people that came from the southern kingdom as Judites, even though they were not the only ones there. You have the people who are of Ephraim. Please apologize. They have the people there of Benjamin. Okay, and another tribe was down there. They said that it is believed that there were several other people that went down into the southern kingdom, and I tend to want to believe that, because if you remember in the story of Yehoshua's birth, that there was a prophet, right, and there was a lady, and who was in. This lady was referred to as from, children of the Gadites, right? And they were there in Jerusalem. The woman who picked the baby up and pray about the revelation of Yahuwah, through sending his son to free them, to redeem them. Okay, she was not from Judah, and she was not from Benjamin. So we know that over the years there were people that the other tribe from the northern kingdom that had mixed and was a part of the southern kingdom. Okay, so we see there, my brothers, my sisters, that Babylon, the Babylonian captivity in the 6th and 5th centuries, which was, as I said, was, part of Iron Age. The word for it was Iron Age too. That these Judahites in Babylon, they refine and, pre-existing ideas about their Yahweh-centric monolatritism. Okay, so instead of having several gods, okay, they focus on one, the election, the divine law, and the covenant. All of this into strict. They make it a strict monoistic theology, which came to dominate the former kingdom of Judah in the following centuries. Okay, so we see that, and my brothers and sisters, I read a book. Our information consider what I'm saying to you here. The News Robert Carl, 1997, and said no other gods and emergent monotheism in Israel, and then there's a Sheffield Academic Press. Okay, so this is why I get that information to share with you there. Okay, and it says, so from the 5th century BC until 70 CE, that is in the Common Era. From BCE until the Common Era, from the 5th century. Okay, the Israelite religion developed into various theological schools of the Second Temple. When we talk about the Second Temple Judaism, okay? And beside Hellenistic Judaism, because we're not talking about Hellenistic Judaism, my brothers and sisters. We're talking about the time, if you remember, when I think it was right around 157 BCE, right around that time, between 167 to 157 BCE, when the Greek leader, the Grecian leader, when he came into Egypt, it was right in the Hellenistic time. He came into Egypt, he came into Israel. And he tricked the people, the leaders in Israel, to believe in his teaching, in his ways, and promised to give them economic help. And because it was a hard time, these leaders, the Hebrew Israelite people, they succumb to that kind of teaching. Now, I want you to notice that the Hebrew Israelite leaders at the time, when they came back into the land, they were in Egypt. They were in Persia and Babylon. They were in that area for over 70 years, right? So when they came back, many of those people that came back were not people who had lived in Israel prior to that. A very few are those who were living in Israel and moved to Persia through the captivity. There's very few of them came back. Most of the people that came back in there, they were new people, never lived in Israel prior to the captivity. They never lived there. So what happened? They came back, and they came back with that religion that their ancestors helped them form. Because by this time, many of them had stopped the sacrificial worship. Many of them didn't believe in that, and they couldn't do it in Persia. So they found another way. They developed. As a matter of fact, they did not try to do it. They found another way. So these people, many of them, this is one of the reasons why they don't believe in Yehoshua, because Yehoshua came to put away this ceremonial practices. And many of these people said they don't need him because we have done that. We have done that. We stopped sacrificing animals way back. 400 years before Yehoshua. We stopped doing that. We have our own religion. We don't need that. So when they came back into Israel, my brothers and sisters, even though the sacrificial element was still there, many of them did not participate in it. So you have a tug of war there. We are a group of people not practicing the sacrificial offerings and presentation and all that, because they stopped doing that way back in Persia, and they weren't going to do it anymore. So there was a conflict between the two, between the Levitical office and the and Judaism. There was a problem there, and we see, my brothers and my sisters, that this new religion, came up. This Judaism, it came up with different kind of schools of theological thoughts, and it happened right around the schools of the Second Temple Judaism, beside the Hellenistic Judaism, and the diaspora, the Second Temple eschatology, that is talking about the end time of things, has similarities with Zoroastrian, Zoroism, and if you practice, you need to get a hold of something to tell you some. I don't have the time to tell you about that right now, because this is not our emphasis right at this moment about Zoroastrian teaching. Okay, but let me say this to you. Some years ago, I bought a Mazda. Okay, and one day somebody said to me, he said, "So you're worshiping Zora?" I said, "What?" I bought the car, even though I know something about Zoroastrian teaching and a belief. When I bought the car, I just bought the car to drive. I didn't have no idea. So when I started, I said, you know what? That thing was on my mind. Let me go and do some research and find out what to talk about. To find out that Mazda was one of I was the second highest deity in that belief. The whole time I had the car. Oh my goodness. My brother and my sisters, when I bought the car, I bought it as used, and it gave me all I spent a lot of dollars trying to fix that car, until finally I got a mechanic who it was brother is a Gentile brother, and his mother was sick, and I went to give him a ride to pick him up from the hospital up there in Fresno, California. And while I was picking up, the car shut off. The car, it was giving me all kind of trouble. And so when I came back in the car, the lady said to me, "Son, your car seemed like it needs some attention." I said, "Yes, ma'am, it surely does." He said, "My son is a mechanic. He's a good one too." And he's the one that helped me fix the car, to the point where my brother says I was able to drive the car from California all the way to Florida and never have any more trouble out of it until I got rid of it. But let me tell you something. Yeah, that's what you learn. You learn Zoroism, But anyway, the next, if we look back in the text of the Hebrew scripture, right, we look in the Torah, the Tanakh, all of this was redacted into its extant form in this period, and possibly also canonized as well. And I was looking at some information on the diseases in the Hebrew are in the Jewish source encyclopedia of Judaism, and we got some information behind that. But my brothers and my sisters, let me say this: Rabbinic Judaism developed during the late antiquity. You hear this? Rabbinic Judaism So there's so different. There are different thoughts, different, just like Christianity. Christianity have different people, different groups, different thoughts. Now, if it's from Yahuwah, if Judaism is from Yahuwah, it will say the Torah. You get it from the Torah, you get it what the scripture said. But it is not from the Torah. You see, it is from the rabbis, the leaders. They came together and they put something together because their thoughts, their understanding, okay, their concept, their belief, their conviction. And they're putting what the conviction said and not what the scripture said. So rabbinic Judaism developed during the late antiquity, during the 3rd to the 6th century CE. And said, if you read a little bit about the Masoretic text, of the Hebrew Bible and the Talmud, you see, the Talmudic writing, my brothers and sisters, is where the big problem is. Because the Talmudic writing has the Gemara and the Mishnah. The Gemara was developed in I think in Germany and in Europe, and the Mishnah was developed in Jerusalem, or and some dealing with the United States too. And so all of these, the Talmudic, the Hebrew Bible and the Talmudic writing, or the Talmud, all of that was basically compiled in this period. So we talk about during the 3rd to the 6th century CE, that is between 300 and 600. So when this was being developed now, remember, Christianity was developed during right around 322 to 332 BC, AD, or CE rather. Okay? This was developed during that time. So we have this tug of war now, because we have two group of people, two religion that is being developed during that period of time. Okay? Rabbinic Judaism, and we have Christianity, and we're going to go to Christianity and we'll show that. We'll show that. But the Talmud was compiled during this period, and the oldest manuscript of the Masoretic tradition come from the 10th to 11th century in the form of the Aleppo Codex. After this period, so we see there that later portion of the 10th century, and the Leningrad Codex. There's a codex that they call the Leningrad Codex, and it's dated from 1008 to 1009 in a common era. Okay, so due largely to censoring and the burning of the manuscripts in medieval Europe, the oldest existing manuscript of various rabbinic work are quite late. The oldest surviving complete manuscript copied of the Babylonian Talmud is dated right around 1342 CE. Around 1342 CE. And I got this message, this information from Gulp Norman, the Jew in medieval Normandy. And it says a social and intellectual history. And it's done by Cambridge University Press. And if you want to look, there is page 530. Okay. Okay. So then we see then, my brothers and sisters, that Judaism has three essential related elements. And I want to hear this. Three essential related elements. The study of the written Torah. That is the books, if you look from the beginning, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Okay. Let me say again, Judaism, it has three essential related elements. The study of the written Torah, that is the book of Genesis, then Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And it said, the recognition of Israel, defined as the descendant of Abraham through his grandson Jacob, as a people elected by Yahweh. In the research writing, it said developed by God, as recipient of the law at Mount Sinai, his chosen people, and the requirement that Israel live in accordance with Yahuwah's law as given in the Torah. Okay? And it said, these have their origin in the Iron Age kingdom of Judah and in the Second Temple Judaism. And the source is from Neusner Jacob, A Short Story of Judaism, page 3, and it's done by Fortress Press. Okay? And it said, in the Iron Age kingdom of Judah. All right, sorry, not in the Iron Age kingdom of Israel, which is Samaria and Judah, first appear in the 9th century BCE. The two kingdoms shared Yahuwah as the national God of their, respective kingdom, for which reason their religion is commonly called Yahwehism. Okay? Schneider, William M., and as a social history of Hebrew, its origin through rabbinic period, page 93, and is developed by Yale University Press. Okay? And Smith, Mark S. God in Translation, Deities in Cross-Cultural Discourse in the Biblical World, on page 119, and is by Erdman Press. And then another person that says, Hackett Joanne, there was no king in Israel, and inside the era of the judges. And in Kogan, Michael David, page 156, the Oxford History of the Biblical World, Oxford University Press. So that's where I get that information, my brothers and sisters. I'm not just talking from the top of my head, okay? And I'm not talking nonsense. I'm talking what is written, okay? So if you have contention with me, then you have to go back to these people that wrote this way back, okay? So other neighboring Canaanite kingdoms of the time, each also had their own national god from the Canaanite pantheon of gods. And Chemosh was the god of the Moab. Milcom, the god of the Amorites. Quas, the god of the Edomites, and so on. So all of these different people around Israel, in these nations around Israel, okay? You have the Canaanite people that were chasing out of the land where the people of Israel occupied. Okay, right now we have the Israeli people in Jerusalem and those other neighboring towns and private, areas where Gaza and all those places, The Canaanite people, they have their own gods. Chemosh was the god of the Moabites. Milcom was the god of the Amorites. Quas was the god of the Edomites. And even though the Edomite people and the Canaanite people, the Edomite people, the Moabite people, all this, we are related, we are cousins. Okay? We are cousins. But they have their own gods. So in each kingdom, the king was his national god and viceroy on earth. So in each of those kingdoms, the king was, can you imagine? Man was worshipped. Man was worshipped as God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Each of them have their own gods. And this is what Yahweh is calling us from. To turn away. Don't pay attention to them. Do not listen to them. Do not participate in what they do. Do not participate in what they do. We must participate. We must only participate in loving Him. Our allegiance only to Yahweh, not to anyone else. And I got this information from David Philip, or 2010, and on page 90, Urban Religion and Rural Religion. And then in Stavrakopoulos, Francisca rather, Burton Marr, and as a religious diversity in ancient Israel and Judah. And it's from page 12, page 112, and it's come from the Continuum International Publishing Group. And in Miller Patrick, The Religion of Ancient Israel, Westminster, John Knox Press. Okay, and so we see that the various national gods were more or less equal, and reflecting the fact that kingdoms themselves were more or less equal. And within each kingdom, a divine couple made up of the national god and his consorts, rather. I want to let you know this, that even in this time, these people over there, each kingdom has a god. And each god has a consort or his wife. Okay? Or if the goddess was the leader, then the goddess husband was the consort, or consorts rather. And so Yahuwah and the goddess of Asherah in Israel. So you see what I'm saying? That Yahuwah is calling the people to turn away from this. But here we see Yahuwah in the research. It didn't say Yahuwah, it said Yahweh. Okay, but we know that is Yahuwah. Is the right name there. And so Yahuwah and the goddess Asherah in Israel and in Judah headed a pantheon lesser god. So here was Yahuwah as the God, and the supreme. But we have Asherah as a lesser god in Israel and Judah. And if you want, don't believe me, you go and you search and you look at Mark Smith 2010, the God in translation, Deities in Cross-Cultural Discourse in the Biblical World, and Erdman's Press. That is one that that published that. And Betts, Arnold, and Gottfried in 2010. In 2000. Gottfried in 2000 on page 917. Monotheism. And in Friedman, David Noel, Meyer Allen, Erdman, this Dictionary of the Bible. All of that, you're going to find that there. So go and you do some research. You do some reading there. And my time is gone for this period. So we're going to stop here and we're going to come back. But my brothers and sisters, I want you to pay attention to this because